Chivo, about Xavi staying on, and we're getting a chance to talk to you guys now, you and Luis, about this decision. Let me start with you, Sid. Were you surprised to see it, and what's the feeling been about it?
Not remotely surprised to see it. On the face of it, this is a shock, obviously, because it's less than 3 months since he said he was going, but not at all surprised, because if you look at the way that Xavi has been responding, and you look at the results in the last two, 3, maybe even 4 weeks, there's been a definite move towards this. Now, Xavi has been asked the same question in every single press conference, after every single game, time and time and time again. Does this change anything? Because, of course, Barcelona went on that run of 13 games without being beaten. Does this change everything? He kept saying no and no and no and no, and it got a little bit silly. But then you notice that the no starts coming with, well, nothing's changed, and he was using the Spanish phrase, which Luis will be familiar with, a día de hoy. As of today, nothing has changed. Well, of course, as soon as you're saying that as of today, nothing has changed, well, tomorrow's another day. And it was really, really clear that there was a sense that the way that he felt about the job, the way that Barcelona felt about him, the way that he was engaging with players and with fans, and of course results, was shifting into a better place. And I think at that point you started the kind of feeling that actually he knows that even if it's not perfect, this is what he wants to do. And Barcelona are looking at it as well. And this is a key element. Never overlook this key element. Barcelona weren't finding it easy to find a replacement. So you get to a point where actually this kind of makes sense. But to answer your question about how do people feel about it, what do people think, I don't think anybody is, how do I put this? I don't think anyone is celebrating this decision. I don't think anyone's thinking, oh, wow, it's absolutely fantastic that Xavi's continuing. I think most people think, well, it's kind of the right thing, it's kind of normal, but I don't think anybody thinks that this is a huge success. In a way, there's a slight embarrassment that they've been through these 3 months when they needn't have done.
Well, let's put that theory to the test, shall we? Luis, are you celebrating this decision?
Yes, of course, I'm celebrating the decision because he's a friend of mine. I think that he can do a good job at Barcelona. He did it last year, and this year, because of so many different situations, he has been struggling. But in the end, I think that Xavi deserves another chance to prove that he's a fantastic manager and that he can bring this Barcelona to the next level. And I agree with Sid. Xavi's been changing the way to address this matter. He's been changing the way he was answering. No, I'm not the important one. Let's focus on the game. I'm not the important one. The important ones are the players. So it was delayed to say, no, I'm not. I haven't changed my mind, and I'm going to continue living. So I was expecting, I had in the back of my head something that he was saying, yeah, if the things are going well, and I think that Xavi felt the confidence of the crowd in many of the last games, felt the confidence of the chairman, and of course felt the confidence of the players. And being at that point, if the club managed to give him some more players, a couple maybe that he can adapt, that he can bring to this 11, I think that Xavi can change the course of this Barcelona for next year. So I'm happy for Xavi, I'm happy for Barcelona.
Sid, we're seeing some conflicting reports on the backroom staff and what's changed there for Xavi. What reports have you seen on this situation?
Well, the situation is essentially that what Barcelona want to do is change or at least update slightly the approach to the physical preparation. And so I think what we're going to see is we are probably going to see a new coordinator of the fitness training and the fitness regime that they use. And I think we'll probably see a change in the staff relating to physiotherapy as well. Physiotherapy and pre-match and post-match preparation of players. There was a suggestion at one point that there might even be a desire to change the assistant coach, or at least to add an extra assistant coach. There was talk about Dominic Torrent, who had worked, of course, with Pep Guardiola. That I don't think is going to happen, although it wouldn't amaze me if at the end of the season that gets readdressed. But I think what we'll see is a shift in the building of the team in terms of the fitness preparation for the side, but I don't think in anything else. And then as Luis was saying, by the way, that question about what do Barcelona do now next year in terms of strengthening the team, that's a really difficult one, because the truth is, of course, as we know, they don't have the financial muscle to do that, and it's going to be very difficult for them to reinforce the team. But they are talking optimistically about being able to get to 1-to-1. Now, what 1-to-1 means in the financial fair play rules is very simple. As the name suggests, you can spend €1 for every euro that you manage to make. So if you sell a player for 50 million euros, you can buy a player for 50 million euros. In other words, you can't just go and buy. You can only do it if you make savings, but you're now back on an even keel, which Barcelona haven't been in this position over the last 3 years. So that would be good news. The problem is, of course, that we've heard optimistic messages from Barcelona before. And until it actually happens, I think it's probably the right thing to do to be cautious about those kind of messages. And I don't think Xavi will be able to have really big name signings in the summer.
Sid, I'd love to get your opinion on La Liga taking their games abroad. You've obviously been covering the league for decades now. What are your thoughts on it actually being played, league games outside of Spain?
Well, this is something that Javier Tebas, the president of the league, has talked about before this first came up. What is it? I think 3 years ago now, when he was talking about taking a Girona-Barcelona game abroad. One of the reasons why this has become an issue again is, of course, before it was blocked by the Spanish Federation, because Tebas and Rubiales, the president of the Spanish Federation, didn't get on at all, and the Federation blocked it. Now, what's happened since then? Two really big things. One, the Federation has taken the Super Cup to Saudi Arabia. So their argument that you can't take games abroad looks a little bit weak. And the other, of course, as everybody knows, Rubiales has now been forced out of the Federation. So Tebas is going to try again. Now, I have a number of issues with this, and one of the ones that I have is that I'm a little bit doubtful about the impact, the real impact on a foreign market, in this case probably the US, but it may well be that they look at other countries as well, in terms of the legacy of that game. Now, obviously, it's one thing to say, get a huge stadium, sell it out. Will you sell it out? Will that game generate money? Yes, it probably will. My doubt is whether it generates real money in terms of genuinely creating a new fan base, because presumably the immense majority of the people that go will be people who are already fans of Spanish football. They may not necessarily kind of start spending more money on Spanish football, following it more deeply than they already are. You may not get a huge influx of new fans, not least, of course, because La Liga's plan at the moment is for only one game. Now, I think we all probably realise that it will start with one game and it will end up being more. Then you're going to have the argument about which teams is it? What kind of compensation do you give to fans of those teams here in Spain if you take games off them here and take them, in this case, to the US or to wherever else it is they end up playing? I think it's problematic, but I don't think it's an insurmountable problem. But I must admit, personally, I'm uncomfortable with it.
OK, we're all based in the US here. On the point about getting new fans, and we know there are lots of La Liga fans already here in the US, do you think that's something that it would be able to do to get new La Liga fans on board here?
Oh, man. You know, this is a conversation and from a different angle that has been taking place in Major League Soccer for a long period of time, that you bring in some of the European teams here to play MLS teams, and the hope is that those fans that are coming to watch the European team, whether that's Manchester United or Arsenal or Spurs or whoever it may be, and they're watching their local MLS team, that somehow they make the connection with their local MLS team. And so therefore, next weekend when the local MLS team is playing at home and Manchester United has gone back home, those guys are going to come back. That crowd is going to come back. And I can just tell you, having gone through it myself, that doesn't quite happen. The moment that Barcelona goes home, the moment that Real Madrid goes home, those people that came to watch Real Madrid and Barcelona are not coming back to watch the local MLS team. I've seen it happen. I've gone through it myself. And so I have to then sort of play out this scenario that you're putting forth, okay, and say, okay, if indeed it's Barcelona-Girona, the Barcelona fans are going to go crazy. They're all going to go watch, right? The Girona fans, wherever they may be, they're going to show up. And those are it. See, your regular Dallas Cowboys fan is not coming to watch Barcelona play and magically becomes a Barcelona fan. He's probably already, or he or she is already a Barcelona fan to begin with, if you're coming and showing up to watch this game. If you're going to pay whatever money you're asked to pay in order to watch this game, it's because you're probably a fan of Barcelona already. And if you're making the 5-hour drive to watch Girona play, it's because you're probably a hardcore Girona fan to come and watch your team play. I don't think you're making new fans. I just think you're strengthening your position as Barcelona fans or whoever the other team may be. So this idea that by playing games abroad, you're attracting a new crowd, yeah, a casual sort of new eyes onto La Liga. But to follow it week in, and week out, I don't think that's quite the case. I think that's something that plays very well in a boardroom and in a presentation, in a PowerPoint presentation, but it doesn't play well in reality.